Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes, hopefully change your life. We're learning Bosi of the Rebbe, Tafshin Yud Aleph. Today's share is sponsored by Bracha Zerkin in honor of her grandfather's yahrzeit, Zev Wolf Ben Tzadok, Chavtal Tevis. It's a special day we get to learn, and by the Blesnik family for Fush Lema for their son, Meir Gedalia Ben Chanalea. Everyone should have a Fush Lema, and in the merit of this learning, you should have it only good. Yeah, let's begin or continue. Also, today's a special day. It's Chavtal Tevis, Alter Rebbe's yahrzeit. So we should, the merit of the Alter Rebbe should sound us good for this year and for the whole day and for Klal Yisrael. So continuing on what we're discussing yesterday, that basically what we're talking about is we say that Ikub Shechina, what does it mean when we say Ikub Shechina? Are we talking about the way Hashem expresses himself in the world of Atzilus? Are we talking about Hashem as he expressed himself in the world before the Tzimtzum, or is it in Asir, in our world? Meaning, when we say that in the beginning, before the Chet of Adam and Chava, God's presence was here, the Ikar Shechina. What do we mean by that? Or in a simple example, when someone comes and they come to your house and they hang out in your house, who's there? What aspect of them? Is it they themselves? Are they totally there, or is it just like a very superficial level of them? Meaning the way we act, the way we feel, the way we express ourselves there. What level of godliness? And so we're discussing. So we're saying that Shechina, when we say the word Shechina, it can mean many things. It can mean Atzilus. It could mean before the Tzimtzum. And like I explained before, that in order to create the world, there was first this Tzimtzum or Siluk, was a removal of God's presence, and that caused that God could bring himself back in bring his godliness back in a way that would be tailored or ability to express itself in a physical world ultimately. Of course, there's a lot of things need to happen for that to happen, to go from pure godliness before the Tzimtzum all the way to our physical world. There's a lot needs to happen. But when we say Shechina, what are we referring to? That's sort of the question. But if we're referring to a very low level, then it's like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't make a big difference. It doesn't make a big deal. And we're saying that the Shechina, and our job is to bring that Shechina back down. So okay, doesn't really mean anything. That's all sort of we're discussing. So we brought down from the Alter Rebbe, the Ikar Shechina means before the Tzimtzum. Yeah, because so in this book, page 24, still in the first place, right in the beginning. So therefore, according to Alter Rebbe, when we say the Shechina is way above Atzilus. It's even above the light that came before the original Tzimtzum, which is in a place before God even sort of had the intent of a world. Is the beginning of a revelation, meaning it's like if you're by yourself, you lived on a desert island, you wouldn't have a name, you wouldn't express yourself very much because there's no one to talk to. So when we say there's a revelation, it's already implying or revealing itself for something else. So the beginning of that type of reality is it's ready in before the Tzimtzum. Even before Hashem removed, so to speak, himself to make place for something else, even in that level before that, there was still some type of revelation. And so therefore we're saying that the Shechina, we're talking about it could be even before that. Like the Mittler writes, because the kav, which like we said yesterday, that after God removed himself, then he put in this, so to speak, a kav, like a line that was a little bit of a drop of godliness, that from that would ultimately create the world, starting with Atzilus, which for and like if you're standing from a whale holding, Atzilus is the greatest thing you'll ever experience, not even experience it. But according from God level, it's still like the Kav is like the lowest of the low. So, and what we're saying is that from that level of godliness before the Tzimtzum is according to Rebbe, is coming down into that was in this physical world. And like the Mitzvah writes, Ki ha'aras ha'kav is the ray of the Kav, the chut, the gabi atzlos in comparison to atzmos or in safe nikov shem shchinos. He's saying that's what the shchina is called. Ki inyan ha'shchina hu b'chol makal v'inyanih. Like we said yesterday, the shchina is in every place according to its stature. So you can say shchina on that many levels. Because the gabi atzilus, in relation to atzilus, which is a world totally of godliness, in a malchus nikov b'shem shchina. So malchus of atzilus is called shchina. And he says not just malchus of atzilus is called shchina, gam b'zeh mash malchus atzilus nikov shchina mevar admar Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek explains so he's saying that the Tzemach Tzedek is saying that even then you're going to say that the malchus of atzilus is called shchina, it's so to speak the low level malchus of atzilus, the level as it is expressing itself as the source for the lower world by it, like lower than it. But when it's not Atzilus by itself, meaning as it is part of the world of Atzilus, not as it is a source for the world below it. Bria. It's one with Atzilus, and it's not shaykh to say that's Shchina. It's not shaykh to say it's Shchina. So nevertheless, but this is not a contradiction, even though now we're saying, and we're having this discussion to appreciate what does it mean Shchina. We're saying that the Shechina was down here. So what does it mean that the Shechina was down here? Saying, yeah, I come. It's like, it's like you hang out with someone to bring down like a simple, like more practical terminology. It's like you hang out with someone and they're not really there. So like, yeah, I'm here. It's like someone's talking to you and they're on their phone and you're like, yeah, I'm listening. You're not really listening. What level of you are you totally there? Or you speak to people, there's some people, that they're really attentive. And when you speak to them, they face you and they lean forward and they're looking at you and they're really listening. So what level is being expressed over here? And that's what we're discussing. And we're trying to understand, but we're saying that godliness was down here. What level of godliness? And that's what we're in the discussion. It's Shechina. The Rebbe is saying, hey, let's understand this word Shechina, because there's a lot of Shechina can mean a lot of things. Shechina, Shenema, B'divrei Razal, so this is not a contradiction to say that Malchus of Atzilus is Shechina, as it is the source for the worlds below it, as is Keser, meaning the source for the world below it. Even though we said before that the Kav is called Shechina, which is Kav is higher than that. Shechina, Shenema, B'divrei Razal, because Shechina that the rabbis say in general terms, Hainu Malchus Atzilus is in general called Malchus of Atzilus. Nevertheless, Rakish is B'chinas Atik LeBria Dafka. It's only when it becomes the source for the world below it of Bria. But in its source, as it is in comparison to the infinite light, and like we said in the beginning, that in Chassidus, that a lot of times a terminology, a word, it depends on where you're referring to. So Shechina is not a specific terminology, but it means it's an idea. So it expresses itself in Malchus Atzilus, and it expresses itself in the Kav. And expressive, as Al-Rebbe said, before even the Tzimtzum. One of the reasons why the Kav is called Shechina, Legabe, or Insafe, in comparison to the Insafe, infinite light, because of Kedushas. Admar Marash, the Marash is explaining, as we see here, we're going through all the Rebbeim, into the Alter Rebbe, the Mitzvah Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, and now bring the Marash. What does Rebbe Marash explain about the Tzimtzum? Now the Kav is called Shechina. The fish Kav, Kavanas, Amshachasai, Bishvil, Hislavsh, Elamais. Because the purpose of the Kav, why is it called Shechina? Because it's the source of the to be enclosed in the physical, in the walls, and to create the souls of the Yidden. Even in its source, it's called Shechina, and sort of this is sort of feels like it's combining the two. It's saying even though the Kav is called Shechina in comparison to Ein Sof, but it's also called Shechina because of the fact that it's the source for the worlds and for the neshamas of the Yidden. But on a high level, we can say Shechina is B'shar Rishon in its original first source. What's Shechina? It's l'mayla mi'atzimtzum, even before the tzimtzum, like we said by the Alter Rebbe. So what we're showing is Shechina can be before the tzimtzum, Shechina can be the kav, Shechina can be Malchus of Atzilus. They're all Shechina because of what they're achieving. But what's the true? And it's the same, so to speak, the same idea, just expressing itself in different levels. But the Shechina in the truest source, in the ultimate source, is before the tzimtzum. In the Rebbe Rashab explains. Now we're down to the Rebbe Rashab. That the revelation of light, as it is before the tzimtzum, that's the same sort of similar idea to Alter Rebbe said. In general, the light before the tzimtzum, there's 3 levels. Like we said before, the light before the tzimtzum is essentially, it's a level of godliness. It's before God even had a desire to create the world, before he made that makom panui, that empty void place that could be the source of the world. In there, there's 3 levels of light. There's etzem ha'or, there's the essence of the light, just like meaning the light itself. Bispashis ha'or, and the way the light spreads itself out, diffusion of the light. And in that hispashtos, bispashis ha'or, basically there's 2 levels. There's the gilia ha'or k'mei shel atzma. There's in that expression of the light as it is for itself. Shezeh makar sevikom, which is the source for the godly light that we call sevikom, that surrounds, that it's way above any tailoring to any specific thing. It's like, for the example that is used in Chassidus, it's like a teacher trying to teach. There's 2 ways a teacher can teach. One, they can teach in comparison to where the class is holding, and they can analyze where everyone is and teach so everyone can really get it. And that's called the Mamali Kolman. That's how God fills the world. That God gives life and life force to everything according to what its need. But then there's a high level which is called the Sefer Kolman, which is, it's way above, and it's like the teacher teaching the way the teacher understands it, and just gives all that it wants. And even though we can't get it because we're not on that level and it's not tailored towards us, but there's an advantage. There's a disadvantage that we don't really get it because it's way above us. But the advantage is that we're getting what's real. We're getting much deeper level, and that's in this Gilead, the revelation of light. There's the revelation of the light as it is in Sevev, and then there's Gilead Atzma Shachlim. Then there is the way it's related to the worlds, that worlds can receive it, and this is what it is before the tzimtzum even. And this is the source of the Malcolm. And that's called Shechina. The way it is the source of Mali. Even though it's before the tzimtzum, he's saying 1 second, we're saying this is before the tzimtzum. So at the level it's before the tzimtzum, meaning that there hasn't even come up with the thought of creation of the world. So how can we say it's the source for the light that's going to fill the world according to what it needs? It's like the teacher learning by himself before he even thinks about becoming a teacher. And we're saying in there's a source to how he's going to explain to the children. He's not even related over there. And therefore, therefore, you have to first have the tzimtzum. And then you say, hey, wait a second, you want to be a teacher? Like a teacher? What does that mean? We're going to have to teach the kids. It's like, oh, 1 second, let me think about what I've been teaching, what I've been thinking, what I've been learning, and how to bring that down to be able to teach it to some kids. And it's even, and it's this in like a tzimtzum, not just any tzimtzum. It's not just that you need to figure out how to teach it to the kids, and you figure out how to teach. He wasn't even thinking of teaching, just learning it. It's like when you learn something for yourself versus learning it to how to teach it. He wasn't even thinking about teaching it. Nevertheless, but nevertheless, even though it's still on that level, it's called tzimtzum. I mean, it's called Shechina. And if you're getting a little lost because of all these terminology, don't worry. We're nearly finished at this point, but even more, but try to appreciate what we're saying here. Because we're saying the main Shechina, Ikar Shechina B'Tachtenim was in this physical world. In this physical world, godliness, a level of godliness called Shechina. I'm trying to understand what was that level of godliness. And so what we're saying is like this. There's a level of godliness, like a teacher trying to teach his students, that can be as he's learning it for his students and he's trying to figure out how to teach it to them. Then there's a level of godliness as he's learning it and he wants to share something for the students, but he knows it's not even related to their reality. They can't understand it well, but he wants to give them the truth, like the full, without being condensed. And then there's a level of as he's teaching it before he's even thinking about being a teacher and thinking about teaching it. And it's totally the students, nothing to do with the students at the moment. And we're saying on that level, when he's learning for himself, and that teacher is learning for themselves, imagine, the greatest of teachers versus the simplest of students. And he's teaching it, he's learning for himself. We're saying over there, as he's learning for himself, he's the source for, it's called the Shechina. And this is what we say when we say the main Shechina, the Ikar Shechina. But if you would just say Shechina, so you could say maybe it's the Shechina, as we said before, as it's the source of teaching the students, and he already knows how to teach students, and he knows what he's going to teach and stuff like that. Or like we said in Lashon the Kabbalah, it was the Kav, or it was the Malchus of Atzilus. But we're saying that's not Ikar Shechina. Hainu Shegila Shechina V'Tachtenim Hu. What's the Shechina that is in this physical world? It's not the Shechina as it is in relation to Atzilus, which is said, Hainu Malchus of Atzilus. Not even at the level of that it's the Kav. That it's that line that it's ready to teach, to bring down into the physical world and to make a world. The Ikar Shechina that was down below in this world, that's what it was. Meaning, and I guess I have to stop here, and tomorrow we'll finish this up and it'll be like go on to the next point. But what we're saying is a very, very fundamental idea. Like in Manas, always talks about how Hashem needs you, and people have a lot of hard time with it. What does it mean? Hashem really needs you? And so what we're saying is we're saying that the level of godliness that is before even the thought of creation of a world, before even he removed himself to make the ability for a world to be created. On that level, even before that, that's the Ikar Shechina. That was what was revealed in this physical world. And ultimately, what we're saying is that through our Avodah, through us in the seventh generation, all of us doing our Avodah and working on ourselves, working on the world around us, we're going to bring that back to an even greater degree than what it was by Adam and Rishon. And so, and what we're trying to do is trying to appreciate what we're saying. And hopefully, we appreciate a little bit what we're saying. And tomorrow we'll finish off this idea. But that's essentially what we're trying to say. And thank you for joining. And Mitzvah Hashem, we continue tomorrow. And I hope everyone has a great day.